right now, not in the past, not in theory, right now as you watch this. Something is moving above your head. It is traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. It has no engine, no signal, no transponder, no reflective surface large enough for ground radar to reliably lock onto. It is a shard, a fragment, a ghost object drifting through the most critical real estate in human civilization, low Earth orbit, and the satellites that run your GPS, your internet, your banking system, your weather forecasts, your emergency services are performing a constant, coordinated, largely invisible dance to stay out of its way. They don't always know where it is. That is the part that keeps aerospace engineers awake at night. Not the object itself. The fact that they can't always see it. And if they miss it, if one satellite on one orbital pass fails to maneuver in time, the consequences would not stop at one broken satellite. They could stop civilization. To understand the ghost object, you first have to understand the environment it lives in. Low Earth orbit, the band of space between roughly 200 and 2,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface, is the most economically and strategically important real estate our species has ever occupied. Up there, right now, there are more than 8,000 active satellites, GPS satellites, communication satellites, Earth observation satellites, weather monitoring systems, the constellation of internet satellites being deployed in their thousands by private companies. All of it, every piece of digital infrastructure that the modern world depends on those satellites remaining intact and operational, and sharing that space with them, tracked by ground-based radar systems operated by the U.S. Space Surveillance Network and equivalent agencies around the world, are approximately 27,000 pieces of debris large enough to be cataloged. Dead satellites, spent rocket stages, fragments from collisions and explosions that have been accumulating in orbit since the first satellite was launched in 1957. Each one of those tracked objects has a known orbit, known trajectory, known risk profile. When a tracked piece of debris comes close to an operational satellite, the satellite operators receive advance warning, sometimes days, sometimes hours, and can calculate whether a collision avoidance maneuver is necessary. The system works. Imperfectly, expensively, stressfully, but it works. For the objects it can see. The problem, the real problem, the one that has been growing for decades and that the ghost object represents in its most acute form, is the debris that cannot be tracked. Below a certain size, ground-based radar simply can't reliably detect objects in orbit. The threshold varies depending on altitude and the specific radar system, but in low Earth orbit, objects smaller than approximately 10 centimeters are largely invisible to current tracking technology. 10 centimeters does not sound like much. At 17,000 miles per hour, a 10-centimeter piece of aluminum has the kinetic energy of a hand grenade. And there are estimated to be more than 1 million objects of that size or larger currently in low Earth orbit. 1 million untracked, unmonitored, invisible fragments, each one capable of destroying a satellite on impact. The ghost object is a specific, identified member of this invisible population, known to exist, known to pose elevated risk to specific orbital corridors, but too small or too dark or too tumbling and irregular in shape to be reliably located until it is dangerously close to an operational asset. It is not unique in kind. It is unique in the specificity of the threat it represents, the orbital corridor it inhabits, the density of critical infrastructure nearby, the frequency with which satellites must adjust their paths around its probable location. It is the face of the problem. The specific, documentable, operational nightmare that gives a name and a shape to what is otherwise an abstract statistical risk. Here is the scenario that aerospace engineers call Kessler Syndrome. And it is the reason the ghost object is not just an engineering inconvenience. It is an existential threat to modern civilization. In 1978, NASA scientist Donald Kessler proposed a theory. At a certain density of objects in low Earth orbit, he argued, collisions would become self-sustaining. One collision produces debris. That debris increases the collision probability for other satellites. Those collisions produce more debris. More debris produces more collisions. The cascade accelerates. The density of debris reaches a point where no new satellite can be launched into that orbital band without being destroyed almost immediately. The entire orbital corridor becomes permanently unusable. Not for years, not for decades, permanently, for centuries, until the debris gradually deorbits and burns up in the atmosphere, a process that, at higher altitudes, takes hundreds of years. This is not science fiction. It is physics. The numbers are not comfortably far from the threshold. The density of debris in certain critical orbital bands is already high enough that some researchers believe a Kessler cascade could be triggered by a single large collision in the wrong location. The ghost object moves through one of those locations every day. The operational reality of managing this threat is something most people never think about, but it runs continuously, around the clock, in facilities around the world. The U.S. Space Surveillance Network monitors the cataloged debris population from a global network of radar and optical sensors. When a tracked object approaches within a certain proximity of an operational satellite, measured in terms of collision probability rather than raw distance, the satellite operator receives a conjunction warning. Most conjunction warnings are resolved by waiting. The trajectories diverge. The probability drops below the action threshold. No maneuver required. Some are not resolved that way. The International Space Station has performed dozens of collision avoidance maneuvers since its assembly began. Commercial satellite operators, particularly those running large constellations in low Earth orbit, have logged hundreds of maneuver events. SpaceX's Starlink constellation alone has performed thousands of automated avoidance maneuvers. Each maneuver costs fuel. Fuel is finite. A satellite that burns its maneuvering fuel avoiding debris is a satellite with a shortened operational life. The economic cost of debris avoidance is not trivial. It is built into the operational budgets of every major satellite operator in the world. And every one of those maneuvers is calculated against the debris the tracking network can see. Against the ghost object, against the invisible population, they are calculated against a probability distribution. An educated guess about where the untracked debris might be, based on known fragmentation events and orbital mechanics. They are doing their best with incomplete information. In space, incomplete information kills. In February 2009, two satellites collided above Siberia at a combined speed of roughly 11 kilometers per second. One was an operational Iridium communications satellite. The other was a defunct Russian military satellite, tracked, cataloged, its orbital parameters known, but not flagged for a collision avoidance maneuver because the probability calculation had not crossed the action threshold. The collision was, at the time, the largest satellite fragmentation event in history. It produced more than 2,000 pieces of debris large enough to be tracked and an estimated 100,000 or more smaller fragments that entered the invisible population. The debris cloud spread around the orbital band. It is still there. Fragments from the 2009 Iridium Cosmos collision are still tracked, still generating conjunction warnings, still occasionally forcing maneuvers by other satellites passing through the region. A single missed calculation. A single event below the action threshold. 2,000 new debris objects. 100,000 new invisible fragments added permanently to the orbital environment. Now imagine not one collision. Imagine 3. Imagine 10. Imagine the cascade beginning, slowly at first, then faster. Each collision generating debris that triggers the next one. The density climbing past the Kessler threshold. The orbital band filling with fragments moving in every direction at speeds that make avoidance impossible. Your GPS signal stops. Your satellite internet goes dark. Weather satellite coverage, which provides the data that makes modern meteorology possible, gone. The communication infrastructure that underlies global finance, global navigation, global emergency response, silent. Not because of a war, not because of a cyber attack, because of physics, because of a cascade that started with one object in the wrong place at the wrong time. The international response to this threat exists. It is real and serious and genuinely committed. The Interagency Space Debris Coordination Committee, IADC, brings together the space agencies of 14 countries to share tracking data, coordinate debris mitigation guidelines, and develop standards for satellite design and end-of-life disposal. Guidelines exist requiring satellite operators to deorbit their satellites within 25 years of end-of-life, bringing them low enough that atmospheric drag pulls them down and they burn up. Compliance with these guidelines has been improving. New tracking technologies are being developed. Next-generation radar systems capable of tracking objects down to a few centimeters. Optical sensor networks that can identify previously invisible debris by the light they reflect. Space-based tracking sensors that observe the orbital environment from within rather than from the ground. And active debris removal missions are being planned and tested. Spacecraft designed to capture large pieces of debris and deorbit them before they fragment into thousands of smaller pieces. The problem is tractable. The solutions are known. The technology, while difficult, is within reach. What has been lacking is urgency. The recognition at the level of national governments and international institutions that the orbital environment is a shared commons that is being consumed faster than it is being managed, and that the consequences of getting this wrong are not recoverable on any human timescale. The ghost object is a symptom. The invisible debris population is the disease. And the disease has been growing slowly and steadily since 1957. Look up on a clear night, and if you are patient, you will see them. The satellites, moving steadily across the sky, bright points of reflected sunlight, crossing from horizon to horizon in a few minutes, regular and purposeful and utterly dependent on the space around them remaining clear. They carry everything. Every search query, every financial transaction, every weather forecast, every navigation instruction, every emergency call that goes through a satellite link. They are the nervous system of the modern world, stretched thin across the orbital shell above the atmosphere. And woven through that nervous system, invisible and fast and everywhere, is the debris, the ghost objects. The fragments of 65 years of spaceflight, still moving, still dangerous, still accumulating. We built the most extraordinary communications infrastructure in human history. And we built it in a garbage dump we were creating at the same time. The ghost object has no malice. It has no awareness. It is just physics, mass and velocity and orbital mechanics, operating exactly as they always have, indifferent to the satellites in its path and the civilization those satellites support. But indifference, at 17,000 miles per hour, is enough. The dance continues. The satellites maneuver. The tracking networks watch. The engineers calculate and recalculate and file their conjunction warnings and hope the numbers stay below the threshold. And above it all, the ghost moves on. Patient, invisible, unstoppable, waiting for the one moment when the calculation is wrong. If this made you look at your phone differently, if it made the GPS signal feel less like magic and more like a miracle being maintained by people working very hard against very bad odds, share it. Subscribe. Because the most fragile things in the modern world are not the ones that feel fragile. They are the ones moving silently above your head.